Hello and welcome back to Movie Husbands. Today we'll be reviewing The Woman in the Window. Agoraphobic Dr. Anna Fox, played by Amy Adams, witnesses a shocking crime while snooping on her neighbors. With her history of mental illness, the line between reality and delusion begins to blur as she investigates if she is really in danger or simply mad. The film is directed by Joe Wright and also stars Gary Oldman, Julianne Moore, and Tyree Henry. So Matt, what did you think of The Woman in the Window?
All right, so I heard today that this movie had been shelved for 5 years, and now it's on Netflix, and this movie should have never seen the light of day.
Okay.
I don't know if that sounds a little critical to you, but...
No, this is the most catastrophically inept thing I've seen, definitely this year, for sure. I also want to tell the audience, we do not talk about the movies before we review things, so yes. I know that we always agree.
I actually didn't look up anything about this movie, so I know the reviews dropped today, you had told me, but you didn't give me any hints about what was kind of, I still don't even know. We came into the review here, so.
I try to intentionally hide my reaction from you too. Like, I was actually laughing during this movie, but I covered like my face with a blanket so that you wouldn't know that I was literally just laughing.
It's so sad because I was kind of interested by the trailer. It was definitely that movie about, is she crazy? Is she not crazy? Did she really witness this murder that happened that she noticed from her apartment? And this has just a fantastic, stellar cast. I mean, you have Amy Adams, you have Gary Oldman, you have Julianne Moore. It's like these people are all-stars, and for some reason or another, well, actually, there's plenty of reasons, this movie just does not come together. And the worst thing about this movie is that this movie tries so hard to build tension, and I felt no tension at no point in this movie.
I didn't either.
This movie was so boring and dull.
It was laughable.
It was laughably dull and boring.
There's just everything that they try to do to build suspense doesn't make any sense. Like, she has an answering machine, and it's 2020. Like, she has a MacBook that the picture is loading super slowly, like because it wants to reveal to you what the picture is, and it wants you to feel intense. And you're like, whose MacBook is this slow that it can't bring up a picture this fast? Anyway, that's just two little nitpicky examples, but they're happening like every 30 seconds. And when the tension really starts to build at the end of this movie, all of the normal stuff goes wrong. She tries to run up the stairs, she slips, like all of that typical stuff. I think this movie is so inept, I don't know where it went wrong. Because there's a lot of films where you could kind of pick them apart. And I said, did this movie fall apart in the editing room? Did it fall apart because of the director? But all of this is so below par that somehow all of these supremely talented people, including the score by Danny Elfman, just did not feel like turning in work.
Yeah, I did not know that he did the score, and I remember turning to at one point in the movie, and I did say this seems like some kind of royalty-free music off of like Pond 5 or something like that. And that's kind of how bad the music was. It's like that the particular moment where she's like going by the door and there's this like tense music, and it's just so, I don't know, it sounded so cheap to me.
Looking at the filmmaking style, it's clear that there is some thought behind this, because when you kind of think she's crazy for some of it, and that has one type of like delirious filmmaking style, and then it gets a little more straight-laced in the final act for reasons that we won't go into. But you can see that they're trying. So it's just that it has this feeling of moving from moment to moment that it just simply is not fluid. It's not moving from idea to idea very fluidly, and it's not moving from scene to scene very fluidly. I could barely follow what was going on in parts of this. And there's scenes where like the neighbors just pop up, they just walk into the frame. You're like, oh, okay, he's here now. Like, it's just, it does not follow any sort of logical base or anything, you know, nothing with verisimilitude at all.
With that being said, what you did say I found to be very true is that I thought it was very beautiful in the sense of its like shot composition. It's like there's these beautiful shots where the light is changing, the light coming through the windows. Like, I feel like they really did think very deeply about that. Sometimes the camera, I loved when it like tilted on its axis and it kind of like took a little 20-degree angle.
Yeah, there's a scene kind of through the crack of a door that's kind of cool.
There was a lot of really cool shots in this movie, but none of it really amounted to anything.
Yeah, and it's funny too because this film is trying to be smart. It knows as a thriller that you have to plant these little details for them to come back at the end. And you have to, as a writer and as a director, you have to plant those details in a way where I notice them, but I'm not so laser focused on them that I say, oh, that's going to be really important. In this movie, in the first half hour, it's like, this is going to be important, this is going to be important. And some of them pay off. Well, they all have like a payoff, but some of the payoffs are really stupid. I'll name one in particular. The kid across the street is allergic to cats. And the payoff for that is colossally stupid.
It is so bad. He literally comes over her house. He sees the cat, he's petting it, he doesn't sneeze once. And then after he comes back the second time, he sneezes, and all of a sudden it's like, my allergies. It made no sense to me whatsoever.
Well, no, but at the end of the movie, that comes back in a very insignificant, very stupid way.
How did that come back?
She's like scared because someone's in her house and he sneezes. She hears the sneeze and she's like, oh my God, and it's him.
Oh, when he's around the corner. Yeah. I see. Yeah.
But think of how stupid that is. How much work they put into that. For it to be like a laughable jump scare. I mean, it's really bad. And the cast is stacked in this movie. I know you mentioned that, but it's just like, how are all these people in this movie? I know that the book is somewhat acclaimed and it was a bestseller, so I think the book is kind of beloved, so that probably brought people to the project, but I don't know what happened with this one.
And honestly, as actors, they're not really bad in the movie.
No, it's hard to take any of it seriously, so I mean, I think the most convincing acting in the world still wouldn't bring me on board with this movie, because these are all like this Oscar winners all over this thing.
Yeah, and these actors are not the problem in this movie. They're not doing a bad job. They've got the material and they're handling it really well. It's just the whole plot of the movie, the whole story, it just all doesn't really it makes sense, but it doesn't make sense, and it's just terribly woven together. All right, so you ready to go to grades?
Yep, I gave it a D-. I don't have anything else to say. I do have one other thing to say. I always dreamt about being a film critic when I was a kid. I never thought about all of the bad movies that you had to sit through and how you would like probably want to quit your job sitting through movies like this. And this is the first time when I was watching the movie, I said, we have to go film an episode where I talk about this thing? Like, I never want to think about this again. But anyway, that's my take.
No, I completely agree. I don't want to ever think about this movie again. I give it a D+, and the only reason I give it a score above you is because I did think the actors were decent.
Yeah.
And I really actually like the aesthetic of this movie. I thought the aesthetic and the way it was filmed was very cool, and I loved all that. It's like I loved what it looked like, but I also didn't care whatsoever.
Yeah, I just wanted to go like this the whole time. Like, because stuff is just happening, and you're just like, okay. Anyway.
Absolutely has no purpose.
Yeah, we've said enough. Yeah, and by the way, once she solves whatever's going on in this movie, she's completely fine.
Oh my God.
Out of nowhere. She's like, okay, I'm good.
I hated that. That's how the movie ends, and it's stupid. We're gonna talk about the spoiler right now anyways. Is this a spoiler? I don't know. But like, she gets in her car and she just drives away, and that's the end of the movie. She literally just experienced the second hugest trauma anybody could experience in their entire life after the first trauma of losing her family, and then all of a sudden, it's just like, walking out of her house, she could leave the house again because she's agoraphobic. She can't leave her house. That's the whole plot of the movie. And then all of a sudden, la da 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 da, I can leave my house again.
I know, she's smelling the air.
She's smelling the air. She's smiling. It's just everything that happened to her is just gone, and she's over it now.
And that's it for a review of The Woman in the Window, which is now streaming on Netflix. Let us know in the comments section, what did you think of this movie? And we'll see you in the next one.